Watermelons and strawberries. Spring has come. We should be over there getting that. Instead, we're at Burger King. Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men were created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living or dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what we did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. Hello folks, today we are visiting the National Cemetery in Salisbury, North Carolina. May is the time when we all get ready for Memorial Day to remember those who served. Let me start off by saying I am against war. I don't see many reasons that war was necessary. World War I and II, I'll give you those. But the wars since, maybe Panama, Grenada, possibly. The Civil War, I'm not familiar enough with the Civil War. I've seen so many stories about who died and why and what it was like. Absolutely brutal fighting. 700,000 dead. But we're in the cemetery. As regular viewers know, I enjoy cemeteries. They're quite quiet and serene, and they're usually very park-like. And this cemetery has the distinction that it's also part of what used to be a Civil War prisoner of war camp, where the Confederate Army kept Union prisoners of war, and most of them died before the war was over. And behind me, this open field, you can see with headstones at either end of the field. These were grave trenches where they would bury a couple hundred people. There are some kiosks here to tell the story about the cemetery and the graves and all that. And I encourage anybody that's ever in this area to come and check it out. So the monument behind me kind of lays out what the trench graves are all about. It says in 18 trenches rest the bodies of 11,700 soldiers of the United States Army who perished during 1864 and 1865 while held by the Confederate military authorities as prisoners of war in a stockade near this place. We're going to try to see if we can get to the prisoner of war camp, if there's anything there. I believe there's some basic historical monuments and stuff there, but for right now we're just going to visit the cemetery here. Look at all these soldiers. And of course, most of these did not die in war. Most of these are buried here as a courtesy after they lived out their life, after they returned from the war and lived a good life. But the unknown soldiers. Kind of interesting that even some children of soldiers are here. Here's an infant child that apparently died at birth. A lot of World War I, a lot of World War II. A monument to the Union soldiers of Pennsylvania. Go in and read the plaque, I guess. The beautiful marble. Many Pennsylvania soldiers were buried here. They were citizens of a state whose founders came across the sea and established a commonwealth where all men would be equal and under just laws, free to enjoy their inalienable rights in the pursuit of happiness and unmolested by king or noble or prejudiced class. They used the sword only to preserve the peace and unity of their country. Twice on the soil of their state were crucial struggles for the Republic. First at Valley Forge, that tested the courage and fortitude of the Patriot Army, then at Gettysburg, that proved the nation could not be broken, respecting the example of the Romans who never raised emblems of triumph over a foe. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania erected this monument to perpetuate the memory of the dead and not as a commemoration of victory. Their memory cannot be forgot. Forever shall men's hearts revere their loyalty and hold this spot sacred because they perished here. And this big monument for Pennsylvania has a really good engraving of the prisoner of war camp. You can see all the detail and stuff that it was like, or what they assumed it was like, because it was burned down as soon as the Union Army got here. Here's the original I don't know if this is really real or not, but they sure as hell don't take care of it. I mean, it's a disgrace, in my opinion. You know, thousands of people died here. There's a driveway over here. Definitely not anything special to visit, that's for sure. Unless you just want to look for ghosts. Might be interesting to come on All Hallows Eve or something like that, but you know, it's a pretty neat house. It's got a tin roof in pretty good shape. Chimney's in fairly good shape. We're taking a little tour of historic Salisbury, North Carolina. One of the things that they have all these signs about historic downtown and some of the sites, Civil War sites and special houses and things like that. But one of the things they have is they have signs all over the place about the historic mural, which is behind me on this wall. I'll show you. This is kind of cool. It's a great big wall that looks like the city. From I don't know what time, but it's pretty cool. Took me a while to find it though. They need to get a better directory on how to find it. It's part of the Wells Fargo building, I guess. But that's the historic mural in downtown Salisbury. Next to the Wells Fargo building, it's a parking lot. Cute little building for a law office. Maybe my son would like that.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless
Were you getting psyched, Dakota?